But then they had contract problems. Who do you think runs National Geographic? So this is why you don't know about what I'm telling you. That may not stay that way much longer. Why do people keep building pyramids over and over and over again? For what? That's true.
Ja, das stimmt.
There is a pyramid right around here in Zurich that we saw, a little pyramid in front of one of the buildings. It obviously is not easy to build a pyramid. And the stones alone weigh hundreds of tons. So the question is, do these ancient sites like pyramids harness energy?
Ja.
I don't know how you translate this,
Minieren.
but the first type of site that we see is called menhirs. And let's cut the lights on us so I can show you the slides. Can we bring the lights down on us so that
Können
you
wir
can see this?
das Licht etwas runterdrehen?
Good, thank you.
Dankeschön.
These are giant single stones that are all throughout Europe. A person is only about this tall. These stones harness energy coming up out of the earth. This one even has a set of boobs, representing the goddess. Here's another beautiful example. You're humans about this tall. This one's out in the middle of a big empty field. Here again you have angelic beings being represented. Sometimes they start tipping over after many, many years. This is another beautiful example. The next category is called dolmens. I don't know.
Dolmen.
That's good. These are stone cellars. This is a consciousness-enhancing machine. You go inside and meditate. There are many examples of them. Very, very heavy stones are precariously balanced. It's cool, huh? You notice this one over here. This is called Kilclooney, and it's in Ireland. Now, how in the world did they get that big stone up there in the first place? And why hasn't it fallen over after so many years? Look at this one. You see that this is a very difficult thing to build. And why did they keep doing this over and over again? This is a more difficult design, but it's very powerful. You crawl in through this hole, and you meditate inside. You can see how heavy this stone must be and how well it's balanced. The next category is barrows. These are mounds on the ground, and they have entrances in them. This is Silbury Hill. Here's a close-up view of the entrance. You go inside, and then you meditate. There is a round stone room inside. Now, somebody did point out to me before the break that Silbury Hill does not have a room inside of it. But most of these barrows do, and they're built for meditation purposes. Again, you can see they put iron bars over the door. Sometimes barrows are not just a circle, but they can be longer in size like that. Size does matter. All right. Now we got henges. That's the next category. Stonehenge is only one example. This is part of Avebury along here. Here's another part of Avebury with sheep. Animals really like the energy that comes from the stones, so they'll stay near them if they can. Sometimes you also see these more feminine stones as opposed to the masculine stones. This is another example where you have a henge at the front of this barrow. This is an energy machine. Here's another example of a henge. Another small circle of stones here. You can see that. Okay, now, this is Silbury Hill right here. These are obviously natural mountains, as you can see. And every single one of these used to be a standing stone, and this is what you call Avebury, all along here. Now, this is how they used to write it, Avebury. You can obviously see the image of a serpent that has swallowed something. If you notice, there's a perfect triangular shape between here, 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 and here. It's a big triangle. Silbury appears to be intended to stabilize the energy of Avebury. At certain times of the year, you would have a group of people stand inside these circles. And the ancient legends tell us that there were time travelers that could come through these circles. I had an interview with Dan Burrish that we filmed the day before the conference. And he was describing a method by which the secret government can measure these vortexes on the earth. Sites like Avebury are built on these vortexes. And these standing stones harness that energy and make it stronger. Stonehenge, of course, is the most stunning example. The stones on top actually have a hinge that goes into a groove on the other stones. There's a socket groove. So this is what it originally looked like. It was a perfect circle. And this was intended to measure when the solar eclipses and so forth would happen. There are certain times of the year that the energy inside becomes very active. The site is built not only to harness the energy, but to tell you when it will show up. All of these holes are intended to show when the sun and the moon will be in certain places. Now we know that there are sites like this all over the world. And the question is, are they all connected? The secret to learning all this is in the science of ley lines. This was discovered in modern times by Sir Alfred Watkins. In the 1920s, he found that ancient holy sites lined up in straight lines. He's the one that gave them the name leys. He found that sites from extremely different ages, millennia apart, were all aligned. This included the Neolithic, the Bronze Age, Iron Age, and the Christian era. So he would take photographs and measurements to find them. He found that they would pull holes into mountains and actually make the mountains drop in those areas. This is an actual diagram from one of his books. Every single one of these sites is right on the ley line. And some of them are very ancient, like Stonehenge. You have Gothic cathedrals. All different things are built right on the line. So do you think the Knight Templars might have known something? Maybe they were keeping it secret. He got a group of people that he called the Old Straight Track Club, and they would go to these sites and meditate. This is his book, also called Old Straight Track. Sometimes you actually get trees that grow in a circle because of these energy fields. That's one of the things he wrote about, and you can see here. So we ask, what's the point of all this? We can go to the mainstream media to learn about this, specifically the BBC. This article you can find on the internet. I believe it was written in 2005. This down here is the same ley line we just saw before, and this one is another example right here. You can see this whole area of Gloucestershire is in between the two lines. Notice it says Royal Gloucestershire. The royals knew that the energy was stronger here. That's why they built all their settlements in it. So it was published June 29, 2005. And this is the link if you want to see it on the web, which will be on the video. You can find it on the video. Everything you're about to see are quotes from the article. They said ley lines are alignments and patterns of powerful, invisible earth energy. They are said to connect various sacred sites such as churches, temples, It is true that more paranormal activity is evidenced in these areas. However, whether this is of a spirit type or paranormal in the true sense is still a topic of debate. Other effects of this type of energy are similar to static electricity, tingling on the skin and your hair standing on end. What's fascinating is that the Russians discovered the same thing about what they call torsion fields. All right. The energy is thought to produce vibrations on a low frequency, which you can't hear, but they alter your perception, creating you dizzy and unbalanced. You feel dizzy. It can also cause nausea and headaches. These often describe the same symptoms as people who are in the presence of ghosts. Technical equipment also behaves erratically in the presence of these energy fields. Same thing that's been seen in UFO sightings. This is another torsion field effect. This is very common at the Ram and Watton under Edge. The general belief is that prehistoric man was aware of these cosmic lines under the earth and built these sacred structures to tap into their magical properties. Now remember where we saw this. Major prehistoric structures of high importance can be frequently found on locations where two lines cross together. Alleged ley lines are often identified by spiritualists who use dowsing rods. Such methods are questionable in their accuracy, so the alleged placement of ley lines should be treated with skepticism. We do not need dowsing to know where the ley lines are. There are much more scientific ways to find them. And this gets into what we call hyperdimension. This involves the work of Ivan Sanderson, who discovered what he called vile vortexes or vortices. So Sanderson investigated a massive amount of airplanes and boats that disappeared. Every time there was a missing airplane or boat, he put a push pin on a map.